But of course, there was a severe economic recession as well. But I would encourage analysts to separate those two things. Again, they came together. It was horrific, but they can happen separately. My point is, I go back a little further than you, Julia, and um, I remember 73, 74, because I graduated in 1973, and so did my classmates. And a lot of them went to Wall Street. I went to graduate school, so I wasn't ready for the real world yet. But they all got jobs on Wall Street, and they all got fired like a year later or less, because the recession in 1974, caused by the Arab oil embargo and the quadrupling of oil prices, was horrible. That was the worst recession since the Great Depression at that time. Now we've managed to top that record a few times since, but at the time, that was, stock market crashed, unemployment spiked, I think all my friends lost their brand new jobs on Wall Street, but that was bad. 82 was a really bad recession, and that was the one that Volcker, induced, kind of doing what Jay Powell's doing today, by the way. And if you want to understand where we're going right now, I would look at that 1981, 82 recession. That topped 74 in terms of the worst recession since the Great Depression. That was the worst recession until 2008. And it was induced by the Fed, raising interest rates and causing demand destruction, because Paul Volcker was out to destroy inflation. And Paul Volcker, I spoke to him about this, he's been legendary ever since. And as it relates to today, and that was really your question, how do we put all this in context? It's important to remember Jay Powell is not an economist, he's a lawyer. And lawyers, one of the reasons people don't like lawyers is they actually think about things differently. You go to law school to kind of get brainwashed in a benign way. But they're better at looking at both sides of the issue. They tend to be, if you're Jay Powell, fairly articulate. Jay Powell's a Republican, and he's looking at his legacy, and he's saying, do I want to be Arthur Burns, who was considered a great failure because he let inflation get out of control? Or do I want to be Paul Volcker, the man who is, considered a hero because he crushed inflation? Well, he'd rather be Volcker. That's kind of obvious, but let's remember the costs. Let's remember what happened to crush inflation. Unemployment was well over 10%. It was like 11 or 12%. This is in 1981, 82. Those are depression level unemployment rates. But inflation did come down, but basically had to trash the economy to do it. And Powell kind of said that may be what it takes. Maybe not that bad, but much higher unemployment and a severe recession. So far, what I just described is not the same as 2008. We may have a very bad recession, possibly worse than 2008, but just a recession.